Because of all the things that are constantly going on in the world, and also because gay marriage is now legal nationally in the United States, sometimes it's easy to get the sense that the old school violent homophobia of like kill the gays is over in the United States. It is not over. And I'm going to play some video for you today of a Christian pastor in Arlington, Texas, who wants gay people killed and is very much against the Pride Parade. There was a city council meeting in Arlington, Texas. The point of it was, let's hear comments about whatever is on people's minds. And this Christian pastor is very much against the Pride Parade. These exist all over the country. They're generally supportive of LGBT rights. Pretty uncontroversial at this point in time. And this homophobic MAGA preacher in Arlington, Texas shows up and says gays are an abomination. They should be executed. I mean, listen, that's what God says. So listen to this. This is still very much a thing. And the scariest part is you'll hear people in the crowd going, yep, right. They agree with it.
According to God, we should hate pride, not celebrate it. We should humble ourselves as virtually the whole room said that we were a nation under God, according to the American flag, and we were a state under God, according to the Texas flag. We should humble ourselves to what the Bible says, and not what the small minority here that is a bully would say.
Amen.
In June of 2020, Mayor Jeff Williams officially announced the acceptance of Pride Month in June for the city of Arlington. But I don't understand why we'd celebrate what used to be a crime not long ago. In fact,
you hear those people.
According to the Texas Penal Code and Section 21.06,
Please be respectful.
Homosexual conduct, a person commits an offense if he engages in deviant sexual intercourse with another individual of the same sex. In fact, that is still on the books today, even though Lawrence versus Texas overruled that in 2003. But God has already ruled that murder, adultery, witchcraft, rape, bestiality, and homosexualities are crimes worthy of capital punishment. Leviticus 20:13, the Bible says, if a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death.
Amen.
Their blood shall be
They should be put to death, and people in the crowd say amen.
upon them. Romans 1 says that men with men are worthy of death. 2 Peter chapter 2 warns and says that in turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemn them with an overthrow, making them an example of those that after should live ungodly, and deliver just Lot vexed with the filthy conversation.
It is 2022, and they're still talking about death for gay people. You know, back in 2008, I would do interviews like this, where people would say this stuff, but we like to believe it's not going on anymore. And he kept going with the homophobic stuff, and the crowd kept saying, yep.
According to CDC, homosexual men are 230 times more likely to get HIV than straight men. I don't know why we would promote disease and AIDS in our community. Additionally, according to this article of self-reported crimes, the LGBT have an average of 20 to 150 children victims, and including they commit an average of 154 acts on their victims. Now, here's the thing. They say that they love so much, but they hate children. They hate Baptists, they hate Christianity, and they hate God.
So this is the gays or pedophiles thing, which is like, this is old school homophobia. Now, I know many of you will say, David, you know, Leviticus, which they often cite, Leviticus also says eating shrimp is an abomination, but they all eat shrimp. What's up with that? And it's true. If you look at Leviticus, it does say that when you eat from the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, them shall ye eat. And all that have not fins and scales, they shall be an abomination unto you. That's what Leviticus says. And you would say, well, but how can they point to Leviticus for the anti-gay stuff, but then they ignore all these other parts of Leviticus? They simply talk about the new covenant. They've figured it out, guys. They have a response to this. They say, no. We Christians, we have been promised the new covenant, which was instituted at the Last Supper as part of the Eucharist. And it replaces the dietary law, but it didn't replace the anti-gay parts. So they've got an answer for that. I know you and I would look at it and we would say, how hypocritical. They'll be picking and choosing, but no. And in fact, they won't just cite Leviticus for the anti-gay stuff. They'll talk about what's in Timothy and what's in Corinthians and on and on and on from the New Testament. So I know that it doesn't make any sense. It's hypocrisy. It's picking and choosing. It's all this stuff that we're very used to. But at the same time, they are continuing, even though it's 2022. Horrifying stuff.